Okay, let's dive in. Today we're unpacking a narrative about economic revitalization, but maybe not in the way you usually hear about it.
Right, we're shifting the focus,
Yeah.
moving away from this idea of, abstract financial limits and looking much more at actual tangible resources, what's really there.
And our main source material uses this story of a town called Ashton.
Yeah, Ashton.
Okay.
And the image they use is powerful, this old bridge covered in rust.
Not just rust, right? It was symbolic.
Exactly, symbolizing something like, what, 2 decades of slow decay?
Right.
Ever since the big local plant shut its doors?
And that decay wasn't just infrastructure. It hit people hard. We hear about Elena.
Elena, yeah, she's, what, 48? Former engineer, highly skilled,
No.
now driving rideshare. Just, trying to make ends meet,
Yeah.
haunted by the skills she wasn't using.
And then there's your son, David, younger guy, 22.
Right, and David's generation, they grew up hearing one thing.
The political noise.
Yeah, endless talk about deficits, debt ceilings, budget cuts.
Always the same line. There's just no money for it.
Exactly. And the source material really paints that phrase as a kind of cage trapping the town's potential.
So the big question is, how did they get out? What changed?
Well, the sources describe this quiet but pretty seismic shift in approach. A new administration, a new way of thinking.
They stopped asking the usual question.
Totally. They stopped asking, okay, how do we pay for fixing the bridge or whatever else?
And started asking,
Do we actually have the people? Do we have the skills right here? Do we have the materials needed to get it done? A fundamentally different question.
okay, so let's get into the mechanics of that. How did it work on the ground?
Well, it started pretty low-key. A federal job guarantee office opened up, right in the old, dusty post office building.
Now, hold on, for listeners who follow this stuff, a job guarantee. That often brings up skepticism, right? Efficiency concerns, inflation maybe.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the sources acknowledge that context. But the design here was specific. It wasn't about, say, just pumping money everywhere or competing excessively with private jobs.
It was more target.
Much more. The promise was direct. If you live here and you want to work, there's a job for you, contributing to the community's needs.
So David, Elena's son, the cynical one.
Yeah, David went in apparently expecting bureaucracy, maybe a dead end.
Yeah.
And instead, someone actually asked him, okay, what can you do? What does Ashton actually need right now? It was about matching real skills to real tasks.
Which leads us back to Elena.
Right. Her transformation.
Mhm.
A month later, she's not driving rideshare anymore. She's managing a project crew.
Wearing her old hard hat again.
Yeah, the source says it felt beautifully real. And her crew. It was like a snapshot of Ashton's overlooked talent.
Who was on it?
Carpenters who'd been laid off years back, some younger folks, maybe dropouts, retired welders pulling skills out of mothballs. Even David was there.
And his attitude changed.
Completely. That cynicism was gone, replaced by, this focused intensity, building something tangible.
Okay, so the jobs are happening. Let's talk about the money aspect, because that's where this approach really diverges.
This is the core of it, yeah. The funding for their wages, for the materials, it didn't come from a new local tax or complex bond issues.
It just appeared.
The source uses that phrase, simply appeared in their bank accounts. It was effectively a direct injection of sovereign currency, targeted specifically at employing local labor for local projects.
So money wasn't the bottleneck. It was more like
Like an activator, a current to get the existing but stalled resources moving, not some scarce commodity they had to find first.
And you could see the effects ripple out.
Immediately. The local diner. Suddenly lines out the door at lunchtime. The hardware store. Sold out of work boots. It showed how quickly targeted spending could create real local demand.
Which brings up a critical point the source makes. The real challenge wasn't the money side.
Exactly. The real constraint, the actual hard problem, was managing the physical resources. Okay, where do we source the right kind of steel for the bridge without suddenly jacking up the price? Do we have enough skilled masons right here, or do we need to find them? Logistics, basically. An engineering problem, not a financial one.
That's a huge shift in perspective, finding dollars versus finding actual steel beams.
It really is. The scarcity was in the real stuff, not the abstract accounting.
So fast forward, the bridge gets fixed, big reopening day.
Yeah, a moment of real community pride. And they quote this older woman, Maria.
What does she say?
She remembered the town being built generations ago, and she quoted her father saying, this town is built on the work of our hands, which felt, newly true again.
So pulling it all together for you listening, what's the main takeaway?
I think it comes down to Elena's realization at the end. The thing holding them back, the monster, as she put it. It wasn't really a lack of money.
It was a lack of imagination.
Yeah, a failure to see the potential that was already there, the people, the skills, the need. The bridge got fixed because they finally decided to use what they had.
So we've talked about Ashton and how reframing the problem from money to resources worked there. The limiting factor wasn't dollars, it was imagination, then logistics.
Right.
But here's a thought to leave you with. If you scale this idea up, maybe nationally, financial constraints might seem to fade, theoretically. But what real constraints then become the main hurdle? Is it energy? Specific materials, like rare earths? Maybe just getting everyone to agree? What do you think becomes the ultimate bottleneck when money isn't the first question?